number 13 is that's you.
Me?
Overtime hours.
Oh yeah. I sent it out, haven't I?
Yeah.
To you.
Yes.
So basically, what I did was, and the months don't correspond, but I've created it as a percentage because we had a lot of flack. What kicked this off? We had a lot of flack about Simon's costs, and I thought it would just be quite interesting.
Well, it's too expensive. But
yeah.
Just sack it.
I thought it would be quite interesting to actually interrogate the data and find out what the actual position is.
Yeah.
So what you can see there, I've sent this to Simon already. So what you can see there is the actual hours for Tony and the actual hours for our illustrious clerk. What I did was, because we changed your hours up by 12 in November and you've then since claimed no overtime, I've added back. Right, well there was 44 in October and then from November I've added in 12 back. So we can't be accused of hiding overtime. So I've assumed 12 hours overtime. So actually what you get is over the period, I think that's 9 months and this is 6 months, you've actually got 28.8 hours on average claimed by Tony a month and 29.33 hours average claimed by yourself. Now, if we went through February and you continued to claim no actual overtime and we just banked the 12, then that figure drops to 25.1. So you've actually claimed less overtime a month than TS did. Now that's quite interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, because he didn't have any of these complaints.
And
so
on 1 month,
what was he doing?
On 1 month, Tony claimed June 22, 59 hours of overtime. So
how do you do 59
the point is how do we get this out in a managed way that doesn't breach GDPR to enable people to understand that actually, and this is why it would be very interesting to tie it into the FOIs and complaints, because if you strip that out, if we hadn't had that raft and barrage of complaints, you would have done significantly less. So if we can annex the amount that you actually had to claim unnecessarily, if I can call it that, we could then add another layer of info and intel to that. So what I would like somebody to do is to double check these figures for me, because obviously I've done them, I've checked them myself, but it would be really, really helpful just to have a second pair of eyes on it to make sure.
Those figures, are they from the...
They're from his pay slips. Can we use the average?
You are just saying there has been less claim or something like that. GDPR, you use some of the personal data away. You're not in personal data away there. All you're saying is less claim this year than last year.
But can we not use the average? If we said the average overtime a month in 22-23 was 28.8 hours, and the average in 23-24 is 29.33.
I don't think that's going to work, Carey, because we didn't employ him till June. And we had no clerk from
I haven't counted June.
Yeah, but we had no clerk.
Yeah, but it's an average, so it's averaged over the months.
Yeah, but then what the public will say is what I'm saying is that but that's all well and good, but we didn't have a clerk from February to June. So
that's how the average works, because you average it over the period of time that the guy's been employed.
You started it from June. Yeah, scratch that.
So it's divided by 9, divided by 6.
Yeah.
If we wait until February to announce this, then that figure drops right down to 25.1.
You are right. I'm thinking academic years.
And that's why you need to do. That's why you need to do an average. Yeah.
on an average month.
Yes.
That works.
And that's more powerful. And then we can also, that's why I want to say, you know, and a percentage of that lower figure can be attributed to the barrage of FOIs and complaints that this administration has received from 3 people.
I've got it. Claire could ask that question.
I'm sure somebody
I
will.
noticed that from your finance meeting, you were reviewing or doing a review of overtime claims. Are you in a position to report that?
So if we report it now, Simon's hours are slightly over. What we're saying is if we wait until even January or February, if he only continues to, if we count back in those 12 hours that we put on his full-time hours, that figure drops to 25. So do we want to keep our powder dry, or do we want to do it ASAP?
Well, it depends on whether we're going to be in. It's this fighting fire, isn't it? And I think we've gone down this route of let's hang on to it for a bit longer, let's wait a bit longer, let's wait a bit longer. And has it done us any good? No, I don't think it has. I'm all, at the minute, I'm all for, I don't know whether I'm even going to be doing this next week. If I have another weekend like I've just had, then you're going to find me somewhere else, but it won't be here. And I think I think we'll just go for it. I think we'll just release it because
We can carry on doing the review month on month, I guess, if we can.
we can
justify
release
doing
another
it.
review.
I'd like to do the same exercise for expenses.
Well, let's
I'd
have
like
that
to
to the
do-
tracker then.
I'd like to do the same. Yeah.
Let's
The
get it
only,
on the tracker.
the only issue I have is I have to work on this. A, when I've got 5 minutes, and B, when I can get signal when I'm in Scotland.
Yeah.
And it's access to the. Before I could just go and sit in there and do it, but now I can't get access easily to the figures.
If you include end of January, so obviously I haven't played anything for what does the figures go down into the end of January?
I'd have to recalculate, just add it on and divide it.
I'm just thinking then, if you could say, at tomorrow night's meeting, by the end of January, percentage is this and this.
Yeah, I mean, that's assuming, we would be assuming that you wouldn't be playing any overtime.
I'm not. I can assure the council I ain't playing anything. I'm not going down that.
Yeah, but what happens if you have to do overtime,
Yeah, that's the
Simon?
thing, isn't it?
What happens if something happens and you've got to do overtime? Now you're then saying that you're going to work, but you're even saying that you're not going to work and do any more than your whatever, and or you're saying that you're going to do overtime but you're not going to claim for it, and we all know that you already work over your hours, so that's a big statement to say I'm not going to claim.
I can assure the council I ain't claiming any more overtime. I work more than it is, and if I have to, and it has to be part of my contribution to the running of society, and it's free work and all sort of things, so I ain't claiming any more overtime.
Yeah,
So they're putting entry on the ledger, nail the bastard. Is that right?
No, I won't be claiming any more, whatever happens.
26.8. So
So
it'll be less by about 2%, I'd say.
yeah, and if we can get a percentage in there of how many hours Simon's on average works
Right.
to do this unnecessary FOIs, etc., he'll get the wording right.
Yeah.
It will drop even further.
That's about 2% then, 2% less than this time last year.
But that's with all the extra
No,
stuff.
whatever happens,
Yeah.
I won't be claiming overtime because then you don't want, I don't want to go into this again because then it's going to be used to declare, I'm out of pay now or I can have to work, but I'm not doing any more. I will do the work, but I'm not declaring I'm doing the work.
Then I think you need to be a bit wise with that and make sure that you're not doing loads of overtime. If you're not going to claim for it, you need to cut off and say, I'm not doing that on a Saturday night. I am not.
The signal's breaking up, I can't.
Shut up. Do you forget? I know where to find you, Mr. Baxter. I know exactly where to find you.
And if I can just make another point, the way that we can do this and introduce it, because we talked when we had that informal coffee at Heather's, that
There's too much in the way.
we need to start reducing the amount of time we use the word the previous administration. So it's kind of antagonising it and could actually end up turning against us after a period of time. So the way that we introduce this is to say that in order that we can maintain a close and careful eye on the financial situation of the parish council and the village hall, we are introducing a series of performance metrics which will allow us to monitor and manage the financials much more closely. And these will be comprised of a series of measures where we can actually clearly see where your money is being spent in relation to the parish council and the management of the village hall. And these measures will be boom, 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 boom. And they're the things that we can then regularly report on. So in this quarter, people, X amount of money have been spent on expenses, which is over the equivalent period, a reduction of Y. And so we go on.
It makes me mad because
it's basic financial reporting that we should have performance measures.
Why? It annoys me because this hasn't been questioned previous to our administration. Nothing was in place, nothing was monitored, nothing was reviewed. And now we're in this, it's like we're the ones,
we're being held to a different set of standards.
And that's wrong.
It is wrong, but
I'm being done for fraud, you know that.
But unfortunately that's how these people work. Because they are quite clear on their culpability. So what they try to do is to, diss and challenge. I think they're feeling very vulnerable, and that's my experience.
But that's their problem, not mine. Don't make my life
that's
hell.
That's how they try to manage it. So that if they can discredit us, then A, it makes them look better, and B, it also takes away a big risk that they're obviously anticipating may come at them. And I think that's the bottom line of it.
I'm going to put in the minutes is the financially recommended to introduce, and I've tried to get it from this word, extension performance, capable mechanism to show how money is being spent with regards to the management and the success of the parish council.
And village hall.
So can we make the next one expenses then?
Yes.
And if I need to help you with that, then we'll get it sorted.
I don't need any help. I just need access to the information.
So what is there any information that we can give Carey access to? So we don't necessarily need access to the whole drive, but maybe is there a file with expenses in that could be shared? You've got the bank statements for the last 12 months from previous admin.
I have. Well, I don't need the bank statements because if I go back through the way that they used to collate the financial information that month on month, there's an overview every month, which is where I got the overtime from. There's an overview every month which actually says, each individual cost element of the finances and how much is against that. I need the same thing. Well, it's also Heather, it's everybody's expenses. So it's
only Heather's claims twice. Nobody else claims.
well, if you've got all the claims for the period of time, if you pop those over to me, then I'll go through the historic data.
It's a good one to do because at Christmas we didn't claim anything. So
Yes.
therefore that we're already a grand up already.
Yes.
So it's a good one to do, it's a good one to set. And if you've got that data and we've got that other stuff, then that's great.
And we can also do it on village hall hire, we can do it on, we can do it
I
on
think
any of the
expenses is
financial
the one,
measures that we have.
I think overtime was depressing, but I think this one needs to be expenses. I think we need to nail that one next because that's the biggie.
Yeah.
Only other thing then before we close is what we're doing about next meeting. In an ideal world, I would do this every single month like this. And regardless of what the arseholes on Facebook say, I would call it in the day because I don't like this nighttime business. I feel quite vulnerable and I'm absolutely not looking forward to tomorrow for that specific reason. So I do like days. It's obviously your availability, but then once we've got Heather on, we'll still be coring.
Yeah,
it'll just be,
that'd be really helpful.
which will be a massive thing.
Yeah.
I like to do it monthly, but
Well, I mean, if
Wow.
I think that went extremely well. We got some real key messages out there in a managed way. We showed exactly. We showed robust analysis and backup as to the reasons that we put forward for various decisions. Beautifully prepared. The clarity of the information was fantastic. I think we should try and get as much of that information out to the general public as possible.
I think a lot of that can go onto the Facebook page.
Put it on the Facebook.
But this also means now tomorrow, Billy, that you know what I've pressed.
Yes.
Just chuck it at me.
Yeah.
Because I've been videoed today, that's going to end up anywhere.
Yeah.
And in for a penny, in for a pound. So just chuck it at
I
me.
was going to.
Tomorrow night, when it comes to finance meeting, the finance committee will say, Billy, if you just cut it to 50 say, and then it comes to 50, that's what I would recommend. I would go through absolutely every line by line.
No.
I would go over and over to all whatever you feel comfortable with.
So if I prep an overview of this meeting for tomorrow, obviously I won't be going into depth on the DFID because that's a separate agenda point. We won't be going into depth over the pre-step because that's a separate agenda point. In fact, most of it is a separate agenda point, isn't it?
Yeah.
But like,
Say on the finance committee recommended that the DFID went down this avenue and the pre-step went down this avenue. And I say it's fully discussed. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
no.
So both of those, you want me to refer those to Vicky for those?
Yeah, for a finance committee perspective, yes.
Yeah.
And that will help you because I think, I don't know about you, but yeah, but I don't know about you, but when I have to speak, I'm so now worried about the words that I say being manipulated and used against me, and complaint number 4 appearing at work, that I'm overthinking things. And like when I got to the last bit before we did close, I was muddling all my words up, but that's because inside you're thinking, I'm nearly there. I don't have to worry so much about my wording anymore. So
I don't get that because normally I'm attacked before the end, so that's what it is.
If they give you some level to attack, you don't think.
But I wouldn't worry about that because at the end of the day,
Don't worry.
You don't worry about it.
But just think, we are volunteers, we're doing our best for this community, and anybody who saw that video who had half a brain and an ounce of morals would think that meeting went very well.